the Aiki Dojo Podcast. I am David Ito, Chief Instructor of the Aikido Center of Los Angeles, broadcasting from Honolulu, Hawaii. My guest today is Dunkelman Sensei from Kuwamori Dojo in Japan.
That's right.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
So, you live in Japan.
I do.
How long have you lived there?
Too long. I went 1977, so you figure it out.
Did you move to Japan to study Aikido?
No, too long to start. I got a job teaching with Princeton, and they sent me to teach over there for them. At a called Aiki Kenshu Center. It was a kind of a summer camp for executives and high-ranking politicians at the base of Mount Fuji.
How long was your contract for?
3 months.
Oh, at the base of Mount Fuji would have been the Yamanashi-ken?
Oh no, my window, looking up to Mount Fuji, that's how close I was. Kamide, the town was like, there were more cows than there were people. It was a really small town.
And how long were you there for?
I guess 3 months, maybe 2 stints, 3 months and 3 months. And then I got another job teaching. I figured this beats working for a living, so I stayed.
And then, did you do Aikido before you went to
Oh yeah,
Japan?
I started Aikido when I was like maybe 17 or 18 years old, long before. So, of course I went, the underlying reason for me getting the job, but the first place was to go to Japan, of course, but I went there on a job, and on the weekends I'd run into Tokyo and practice and run back out again to the countryside. But yeah, that was the general idea, to go to Hombu Dojo, yeah, when I had time, yeah.
Where did you study at before you went to Japan?
Long Island Aikikai. Well, I went to Stony Brook University, so there was a club. So I started Aikido. Oh no, actually I started Aikido the first Aikido was in New Jersey. I was doing Taekwondo. And if you want to hear the story,
yeah,
I was starting doing Taekwondo, and there were, the competitions and so on. So I was maybe 17 or 18. My mother moved to New Jersey from New York, and I was in this kind of kumite, and this guy swept my feet. And okay, come on, one more time. Swept my feet again. I said, what the hell? And then, so finally, he won, obviously. And I said, what was that about? What did you just do? Why So that's judo. I said, well, I'm going to do that. And said, judo, I'll do that. It's better than this. I said, no, do Aikido. I said, really? Aikido? What's that? And there was like one guy doing Aikido in New Jersey. His name was Gene Waddell. And that was a character. You ever see those videos of the Hindenburg crash?
Yeah.
It explodes. And just before it bursts into flames, you see someone jump out of the window. That was him. Seriously? He told me, yeah, seriously. He was a circus performer, and he was doing acrobatics, and he jumped out. He broke both legs, but he survived. And later went to Aikido and became a teacher. What a real character. He would, I was taught Kodagaishi like Shoinji Kempo style. You flip and come back on your feet, because he was an acrobat. On my feet. So that's where I originally started. Then I went to college, Stony Brook University. There was a club there. And then Eddie Hagihara was my teacher.
Oh, Hagihara.
And then of course I went to New York and Terry Dobson. I spent a lot of time with Terry Dobson. What a character, yeah.
And they said, you should go to Japan.
Well, I had my whole career, my whole life planned out. I said, well, I'll go to Japan for 3 months. And the rest is history,
Were you always kind of thinking about Japan or spiritualism or mysticism?
Oh yeah, I think in my generation, I think everybody came to Aikido for spiritual reasons. They thought I was doing Zazen, I was doing yoga, I was studying with this guy named Paramahansa Muktananda. I was doing all that stuff, I was doing Hatha yoga. I became a Hatha yoga teacher, and it's hard to believe that now, but I was actually a Hatha yoga teacher for a while. Yeah, I went to Israel, the pilgrimage, I was, spiritual reasons I started Aikido, yeah.
What kind of spirituality were you interested in at the time?
Well, what does an 18-year-old know about this sort of thing? I imagine enlightenment, I read all these things, and I thought, I'll go to Japan and learn, the spiritual path. little did I know there's like absolutely zero spirituality in Japanese martial arts, but at that time I thought there would be.
You think in Japan there's not much spirituality in martial arts?
None. I haven't.
Like they don't talk about that stuff. Is that what you're saying?
I have never met. Trying to think. The closest was Shirata Sensei, but he wasn't like that. Hikutsuchi wasn't a very nice person. I mean, Hikutsuchi Sensei, I guess, gave kind of lip service to it, but that really wasn't his thing either. These people are martial artists. They like to fight.
Why wasn't Hikisuki Sensei a nice person?
Oh, it's too long a story. But I went to visit him with a friend of mine, Tom Collins, who you met. We hitchhiked all the way out to Wakayama. It took us 3 days. And he made us sit in the dojo for 4 days and told us we couldn't go out. Stay there. Just stay there. And he wouldn't let us out. It was like all sorts of nice sightseeing things to do around town, No. Then he calls, on like the 2 days before we were leaving, he called us up his office. And he was like sitting before his desk, and there's a giant painting of himself behind him, And he's like there, he's standing there with himself behind him. And he says to me, so I did give him an introduction from my teacher, Chiba Sensei. And he says, so how is Chiba-kun doing now? Chiba-kun is like,
Yeah.
it's the way you speak down to someone. I bristled at him calling my sensei, this, Chiba the kid, and so what's he doing now? I said, well, he's in the mountains doing zazen. So, oh, that's ridiculous. What an idiot. Walking is zazen, and going to the toilet is zazen. Everything is zazen. You don't have to go to a temple to do zazen. What an idiot, basically. I said, okay. I said, well, if walking is zazen and sitting on a toilet is zazen, how come going to a temple and doing zazen isn't zazen? He got really angry, threw us out again. And another day in the dungeon, and he came down the next day, and he threw it. We were in our street clothes, and he threw us all around. He was amazing. I mean, I have nothing. These guys in their IQ, they're great, But spirituality, Sorry.
So yeah, you go to Japan, and then you just mentioned that Chiba Sensei was your teacher. How did that come about?
Well, that was thanks to Bruce Bookman. He was Yamada Sensei's deshi, I guess, and he started quite young at Aikikai, and I guess I don't know what his story is exactly. I guess Yamada Sensei sent him to study in Japan, and I knew him, and Yamada Sensei sent him to study with Chiba, and when he came to Japan, we got in touch, whatever, and he introduced me. So I was Nikkyu at the time.
What was Chiba Sensei like?
He was a very complex individual. It's not simple. It's very simple, not simple, a simple person. Many layers to him. Of course, he was very strict, in our practice, but he was a brilliant man. In fact, I think I mentioned to you before that these old teachers, Yamaguchi and all those old teachers, they knew a lot about everything. They could talk to them about any subject that had an opinion and a deep knowledge.
Really?
Everybody, yeah. I mean, Yamaguchi Sensei could talk about philosophy, history, science, whatever you want. All these guys could. They're just very multi-talented, multi-level, brilliant people. All the teachers at Hombu Dojo that I met could talk to them about anything. He was like that. So, I mean, he was a very principled person, and of course, he is very rough training. The training was very, very hard.
In what way?
It was very strong, used a lot of physical strength, and techniques had to work and be efficient. And if you didn't hit him really hard or punch or grab him really hard, he'd smack you or punch you. So you learn to hit as hard as you possibly could. So in that sense, it was a hard, grueling training. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, you learn through hard knocks, which I think it's a good way to train. It was a good way. It was good for me.
You kind of mentioned a little bit that Chiba Sensei memorized all the Shakespeare plays.
That's what I was. Before he went to to England. His way of studying English was to memorize all of Shakespeare's plays. Yeah. But he was just like that. He just had this mind for, he was interested in everything. He soaked up all kinds of knowledge.
What kind of conversations did you have with him?
Again, lots of things. We talk. Well, okay. During training, nobody talked, except to say wrong. No, stupid. That was basically it. And if he said to you, you're stupid, you say, oh, he noticed me. He said nothing to you. You knew he didn't really care. But if he said you were stupid, then that meant something. But we would talk about all sorts of things. But because we didn't train in class, when we went out to drink, that was nothing. Basically, we used to go out all the time to go drink and talk. We'd ask him questions, and he'd tell us stories and tell us about. He would explain things to us, And again, once again, very little spiritual. It was technical. He was teaching us a kind of technology more than about the technology of Aikido, rather than the spiritual side of it. Oh, I mean, he was a very spiritual person. He was a very spiritual person, though. He went to the mountains to do zazen for about 2.5, 3 years, I forget. We went up there. He did zazen in the mountains from morning until night. I went to visit him. It was an incredible experience. The Osho-san, the priest, we'd get up at, I guess, 4 in the morning, and we would take gyoza. You take winter time, we take gallons of water and splash ourselves with water from the stream in the middle of winter, and then zazen for 1 hour. Zazen. Freezing. And okay, I don't remember. I was probably asleep. I don't remember freezing. So then we would do Aikido for 1 hour, then zazen for 1 hour, iaido for 1 hour, zazen for 1 hour. Then we would go to the garden and pick weeds and stuff. Then we would go out in the forest to do suburi with hitting the bundles, with sticks. We would have. I had we had wrist swords sometimes. We try to hit the bamboo, go boom, boom. It's really hard. Tameshigiri. We did tameshigiri. Then we come back zazen, and then around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, lunch or brunch. Which was like a bunch of leaves and vegetables. Then we did more gardening, then repeat. Then about 6 or 7 o'clock at night, drinking. Drink, until like 2 in the morning. Go to sleep, but you couldn't sleep because there were so many rats and bugs and things flying through the air. You couldn't, those pictures that wrote down, those flying monsters, they're real. They'd be flying around the temple and you try to sleep, and then 4 o'clock, boom, get up, repeat.
How long did you do that?
Oh, I did that on a few weekends. Tom Collins, he lived there, and so. But that Chiba did that every day for I don't know, a long time, a few years.
That sounds very intense.
It was very intense, and yeah, the Osho-san, he I told you how he learned English. Incredible guy.
How did he learn English?
He was impressed by Chiba's English, and he said, I want to learn English. So he got all his books and tapes, and he went into they keep the altar. It's kind of a large box, kind of, maybe 1 tatami big with a door. And he went in there for 6 months with the tapes and the books. People brought him food. He went out and he came out, went to the bathroom, whatever he did. 6 months, he stayed in that closet. They came out speaking English.
Well,
yeah, fine, yeah. That was Osho-san. Yeah.
What was Chiba like? I mean, being foreigners, did he treat you kindly? Accepting?
I had never thought about that. I think all of us, actually, I think all of the students were foreigners, even in Japan. He didn't have any Japanese students, like us. Because we took private lessons with him. I was Bruce and this guy Mike Scott and me, and he was the 4th. Chiba Sensei.
Chiba Sensei
was the 4th. So we trained with Chiba Sensei. He didn't teach us, we trained. He was the 4th partner. And that was 2.5 hours twice a week. And the rest of the time, and he had a class on Friday night that nobody went to. Like 18 people would show up for that class, too rough. And then a week, sometimes we travel, go to Yamagata or to here and there. And then we would train, but during the week we would train among ourselves. And Mike Scoss was, he had like Menkyo from, I don't know, every single Budo, Kobudo that was out there. So he would teach us sword and things like that on the weekends. So, but I don't think among that group, there were maybe 2 or 3 groups. Yeah, there were no foreigners, there were no Japanese.
Was that his job? I mean, to teach the foreigners?
No. He had a regular class, but many people took private lessons with the teachers. So not some Japanese also, of course. Like Endo Sensei had a bunch of private students. That was a way of, that was their side hustle. They would make a little bit of extra money. It would be up on the 4th floor in Hombu Dojo.
But why did Chiba have so many foreign students? It just became known for that, or he had
He had been in England, and he'd been in Europe before that, and after they went to San Diego, So for those, I guess, 3-4 years, I guess it was, that I was with him. He'd had a worldwide reputation as not a particularly, good one. He may have thought he was an arm breaker, and he did occasionally break a couple arms here and there. But I must say,
break your arm.
He got dislocated on my elbow, I guess. But he just came in one day and just boom, boom, boom. He broke Bruce's arm. He broke Mike's wrist, and then he hit me. So, you man, you're so dull today. You're no good. Boom, 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 and just walked out. So it was days like that. Yeah. I mean, when he had a kid, when Shibata had a baby, he gave the kid the baby, and he put a toy tanto in the baby's crib. But he was, definitely complex individual. I mean, I don't think he was, but again, he's young.
How old
Like
is he?
35. Wasn't that much older than we were. He was still young. So this is him midway in his career, newly married, had just had a child maybe. He was a young man. So he was also feeling his way. But I felt that he did treat the foreigners differently than the Japanese. I think they all did. They thought we were indestructible. They just thought they could do whatever they want, and really, does this technique really work? And they pick us and just, wail it on,
What was your fondest memory of Chiba Sensei at that time?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, one funny thing was, because I was Nikyu, and my fellow class, my private lesson, these 2 other guys, they were already, high rank. And one time I said to, Bruce, I said, when you're taking kemi for him in front of class, and of course he's throwing bam, bam, bam. I said, it's so nice how he like whispers in your ear, go this way, go that way, be careful of your arm. Just before he throws, he gives you like a little hint about what to do. They said, huh? I said, what? I said, no, he whispers in your ear, how to take your kemi. No. So I thought that was very kind of him. He accepted me. He helped me, up the ladder a bit, with that. But I mean, also one trip, I think we were going to Sendai, and he was interested in Judaism. I think I told you the story, but and it's a 5-hour trip on the train going up to Sendai. We're going to the dojo up there, Shibata Sensei's dojo. And he asked me about Judaism. And he sat there in the train with on his book can like this. For 5 hours, I talked to him about Judaism. He just kept asking me question after question after question about this and that. Just soaking it all in. So resting his chin like this to listen, to concentrate and listen,
You were telling him about Judaism in English or in Japanese?
English, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember. I don't think my Japanese is that good. His English, of course, is perfect, I don't remember what language he spoke to us in. Maybe English, because Mike was totally fluent and Bruce so. But I think he spoke mostly in English. Of course, the regular class was Japanese, English. I think he spoke to us in, yeah.
And then from how long were you with Chiba?
Well, I guess some 77. When did he go back to America? 81, maybe 4 years in there, something like that. So yeah, about that time.
Did you ever want to follow him to America?
No, I didn't. I never thought about that. I mean, Damn. Where were you when I needed you? Oh, that would have been a good idea. No, yeah, I didn't though.
So, let's see. Then if you left in 81, then you were with him for
Like 81, something like that. It was like 4 years, I think.
4 or 5 years. You were with him, and then
I'm not sure, 3, 4 maybe.
after he left, did you still call him your teacher?
Yeah, I mean, after he left, I practiced at Hombu Dojo, but slowly it got, less and less interested in the training because I couldn't do what I was taught to do. It was a little too rough. But also, every year I'd come back to America about 3 months and train in New York, wherever I was, at California, so I kept up my training in America quite a bit, going back and forth. But now that you mentioned, I went to San Diego. I think I know why. I think I can tell you why I didn't follow him. Chiba Sensei, at least with me and the people I knew, his mission was to give you a set of tools that you could work out Aikido with. Here are the tools. I'm going to give you the tools, and now like here's the hammer, here's the nails, here's the the wood. Put it together. And he was really big on giving tools, but not teaching you how to do movements, but teaching you how to build the movements from scratch. So I felt I'd been given the tools. I felt, thank you, I got it. And now I got to do my bit, and I'll do my work. And now I've got to put in the effort, the shugyo, the effort. I have to put in that myself. And I think that's why I didn't follow him. No need, in a sense.
Mm.
It was, I got what he wanted to give me, and I felt full, complete with that.
What are those tools?
Well, that's
The way, I mean, the way you look at the technique, or how you move your body, or
well, I mean, he had a bunch of principles to of movement, to maintain your posture, move to the blind spot, apply technique. But I think I told you, I don't think in these visual terms. I have this this thing. I think more. For me, it was all somatic. It's hard for me to describe. Everything was in the tools were in me. He instilled. It was like the Buddha's transmission. Things are. It's a transmission.
yeah.
It's it's like zzz, and you get something. Maybe it sounds spiritual, I don't know, but it's something. It's like suddenly all the things fall into place. Okay, now I know what to do, and I eventually I evolved from that though. I don't do his Aikido anymore. It was a staging of a stage in my career that he gave me, and then he changed also. Obviously,
How old? I mean, what rank were you when he left in 81?
I don't remember. Maybe Nidan, something like that. Yeah.
Because trying to understand, to have gotten that transmission in 5 years.
Well, I mean, I don't know that. I mean, maybe I'm being presumptuous to say that, but I felt, again, he had this ability to somehow bring you up to his level, even though it was ridiculous to say, I train with Chiba at his own level. It sounds ridiculous, but he had this ability to just sort of draw you up. And when you were practicing, it was like, with it, we're equal to each other, and we're trained, and it gets this kind of, I don't know what the word, confidence, or kind of a way to see yourself, to give you a certain confidence or special ability. I know it sounds weird. I don't know if you can understand what I'm even saying.
No, I totally understand it.
Yeah, I mean, to have that phenomena. I mean, other teachers just felt, oh God, he's so good. I'll never do that. How do you do that? And sometimes they even made you feel like you'll never be like them. But his training was sparkling. It glowed. It had a light to it.
But did this understanding come about from the hard training, from the strictness, the talks after class? How did it come about?
Well, I think all those things, and I think when the student is ready, the master appears. I think there's something to that. Saito Sensei, probably the greatest technician of our time, taught many people. How many are like him? how many, he's the greatest, he's the best. I'll even admit it. Chiba would admit it, that he was the best technician, best, strongest, whatever, IQs of our generation. So why aren't all his students like the best? He's got some good students, some bad ones, all over the place. Everyone, it's the same for everybody. Some, the one of the Daito he just said, out of 10,000 people, maybe you'll get one student. Of course, Daito and even the early IQ, the early Aikido, they didn't actually ever teach the real thing. They never taught.
What do you mean by that?
Well, all the kobudo, they were kind of secret societies in a sense, they didn't teach you how to swing. You came and they taught you how to swing a sword, okay? But that wasn't the right way. They taught you the wrong way to swing a sword. Because someday they're going to meet you on the battlefield, and who's going to win? If they teach you the right way, So they would teach you the wrong way, okay? Or some variant that was inconsequential. And if you earned your keep, you earned your place, after a while, eventually, maybe they would eventually bring you, those movies about the cleaning, the floors and then, and taking the fish out, all that stuff was proving yourself that you're going to stay with this teacher. And then they would begin to show you stuff. But, all this Shibuya that we do in Aikido, it's wrong.
What's wrong with it?
That's a different interview, but it doesn't, you can't cut a person
in half like that.
No, it's a distance thing. I'd have to show you, but I mean, it's if I swing like that and you swing like that, we're not going to reach each other. How do you navigate that distance with a weapon? Mm-hmm. And that's not, nobody teaches that. They teach you how to swing it, but how? But how do you swing it in such a way that you reach the target? And rather than just swing it in front of your body.
So how did Mike Scoss learn all those kobudos and get all those Menkyo Kaidens?
He's the most dedicated martial artist I've ever met in my life. He was very dedicated and very sincere, and he worked his butt off. That's how he did it. He was a very, very serious person. He devoted his whole life to it. So he got it.
So after Chiba leaves, you train at Hombu? What did you train at?
Train at Hombu, yeah. I trained at Hombu, and then I guess for a few more years. And then, I'd say 83, 84, 85, I quit.
You quit Aikido?
Yep.
Why'd you quit? Disillusion?
Didn't see the point. I thought I got, I got these tools from him. Now I didn't have any of the materials to work with. My friends were gone, my training buddies were gone, and nobody at Hombu would train like that. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. So I felt I had no place to train. I'd also got married, had a kid, and my family needed me. So I was a father for the next 10 years.
So what do you mean by no one trained like that? They didn't train harshness?
No, they didn't train hard. I mean, again, I'm not necessarily recommending that you train this way. I think hard training is better than soft training, but for other reasons. But I mean, no, the things have changed. Also at Hombu Dojo, it was moving in a much more, laissez-faire, let's say, direction. Do what you want, everything's okay, It never approached the kind of stuff that was going on in America at the same time, but it was still, very loose. It was many, and the old teachers were now gone. They've been replaced by younger people to some extent, and also people weren't practicing. I practiced every day, maybe 3-4 hours, Then nobody would train like that. They once a week, twice a week, or maybe maybe they train 4 times a week, but not strenuously, and they had jobs to go to. They weren't willing to get their arms broken or you know. And they didn't have the skill. I mean, this kind of training requires tremendous, attention to, pay attention, don't get hurt. And ukemi, ukemi wasn't like it is now. We sort of, the uke controls all the movements of the uke is in control of the movement, not even nage. Then you had to pay attention. You basically was attack, attack, attack. Watch out, watch out, watch out. You attack, attack, and then you get thrown. You have to take care of yourself. You have to protect yourself. So you attack as hard as you could. Then once you lost your balance, you had to, do whatever you could so you didn't get hurt. So you had to flip or turn or whatever. And that was ukemi for us. We didn't think about ukemi. Ukemi was totally automatic. There was no thought process whatsoever. You get thrown because you're like falling through like being thrown off the top of a building. And you're like this. Do your best, to land on your feet or wherever.
So you took 10 years off.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
So what brought you back?
I got fat. Yeah, I got fat, and I got, and my kids were older, and I felt I had some more time. So, because there was the money making years, you're in them now, basically. Yeah. We have to make the money, get the kids, raising your kids. So, yeah. So then about I guess maybe in the 90s, early 90s, where I was living, there was a dojo nearby, and it was Kuwamori Dojo. And in fact, I knew Kuwamori Sensei from my early days in Aikido from Glenn. Glenn was Kuwamori Sensei's friend.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. So I think he introduced me to Kuwamori, but which is kind of ridiculous because actually when I came from America, I got an introduction to Kuwamori Dojo in America from Terry Dobson, and he told me to see Ellis Amdor, he's a great guy. And I had gotten an introduction, but when I arrived in the airport, I lost my address book. So I lost all my introductions, all the people I knew, everything was gone. So I didn't know. And also, Kuwamori is really hard to read. So after all that time, I finally wound up at Kuwamori Dojo, which was the place I was supposed to go to train in the very beginning, not Hombu, but to this dojo. So I wound up there.
So Kuwamori Dojo, you said, was the first?
Yes, it was the first, I guess you'd say satellite dojo now. The first dojo outside of Hombu to be built.
What year was that?
I guess they're coming up on their 75th anniversary now. What's with that? 80th? So yeah, a while back.
So you go back and start training at the Kuwamori Dojo. How often did you train?
Well, I lived just down the block. So yeah, a lot. I've trained, pretty much every day, but it's an hour. And in Japan, it's a kind of a whole thing. You train after you have tea, you trade, war stories, and it's a thing. It's a whole community. It's, a lifestyle in a sense,
Did you go back to hard training?
Yes.
Go train with the way you wanted to train?
Yes. I mean, not everybody liked it, but it was that kind of dojo. But I mean, I don't know what is your picture of hard training? What do you think hard training? I don't know. What are you envisioning when I say hard training?
I envision that the techniques are fast, strong. People are attacking hard. They're throwing hard. Everything was fast paced. There's not a whole lot of people just phoning it in.
Okay, that's right. That's basically, yeah, it's basically that. It's right now basically everyone trains like me, like old men. They train so slowly. I think Glenn alluded to this. This measured paced Aikido of today, right? But then everything was full speed, full power. So yeah, in that sense. But again, people were awake. You throw something hard, but it was okay because they're paying attention. They'd taken care of themselves. And if I got hurt, it was my fault. In Japan, if you get hurt, it's your fault, not the person who threw you.
I do know that, and that to me is hard to understand because, like at Hombu, it's really crowded, and people are just throwing you down, and you're like, "Hey, well, you just threw me into somebody,"
Yeah.
and they're kind of like, you gotta negotiate that yourself. And then as a Westerner, I'm like, that's so rude.
It's like that now.
Yeah, I mean, it's because Doshi's class is so crowded.
Yeah, well, the class, I wouldn't say the classes, well, they're crowded enough at my dojo. It wasn't that big a dojo. Of course, here's the thing. Okay, as the tori, the nage, it's my response. Okay, we both have a responsibility.
Right.
Your responsibility not to get hurt. Okay, but my responsibility is not to throw you into the wall. My responsibility is to take care of you. Now, I have maneuvered to a position where you've lost your balance, Kazushi. You are not in control anymore. Okay, I have to be careful and you can't look behind you. You can't look around you. I can. So I have to be careful. So it's my responsibility to throw you safely, well, relatively safe, in a relatively safe position. And if you get hurt, it's kind of your fault because I did everything I should have. I did my job. Did you do yours?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Of course I'm going to feel bad if I hurt somebody. Obviously, I'm not the monster. Well, maybe. But I'm saying, of course, for sure, if I hurt somebody, I feel bad. I mean, I hurt some guy who's a ski instructor. I felt very bad about that. But that was because I was young and didn't know what I was doing. But, I did my best. And if you feel, you understand what I'm talking about? It's like, it's kind of, we'll both have our jobs here.
Right.
And I know I'm not going to super take advantage of the fact that you're off balance. I mean, that was my biggest grievance against the instructors at Hombu. You get the person, you get Kazushi on them. There's places where you have to put strength in places where you don't need strength. Okay, during your techniques, times to move fast, time to do so, time to use strength, and times you don't use strength during the waza. Okay, and when some person is totally off balance and halfway in the air, you don't need any strength to complete the technique. It's done already. No, there.
Yeah.
Why? So I didn't like that. So I wasn't that type of person, well, most of the time. But sometimes you have to get thrown to be able to take the ukemi because you need some momentum behind you and some push. But anyway, that was the structure of practice. And Kuwamori, I could do that.
How old were you when you came back to practice at Kuwamori Dojo?
I don't remember. I was very small when I was born. So I guess I was 40, maybe 50s. Yeah.
How long were you able to?
70, 82, 92. Yeah.
How long were you able to hard train for?
Well, I mean, I was able to hard train, but then I changed my own. There was a teacher there, Matsumoto Sensei. He says to me, "Don't use strength. Don't use strength, huh? So don't use your strength. What? What do you mean don't use strength? No, we don't use strength in Aikido. What are you talking about? I had no idea what he was talking about, because I was like really strong, physically, really. And then he started me on this path of like, don't use strength. He tried to show me, and I began to change, and I began to see how not use strength, how to use strength in a different way, how to use my body in a different way. But I think I had to have gone through this like hard training to get to the point where I could, do something different, So I followed him until I changed. But eventually, I kind of got a little disillusioned with Aikido. Even after so many years, I felt that I had learned everything there was to learn. I know, it sounds haughty. But I felt that wherever I went, any dojo I could go, I could dominate the practice. I wasn't happy about that. I felt, well, I guess that's what it is. I guess Aikido actually is devoid of all spirituality, and there's no such thing as ki. And then I met Mito Sensei, and it changed everything.
Who did you meet?
Mito Sensei, my teacher. Yeah, when I met him, everything changed.
How did it change?
Well, he taught me this: feel, become one, make a path, don't throw. He taught me this koan, and then I found out how to use my body and my strength properly. Because up to that, I was satisfied with my Aikido. I learned from the best. Not only Chiba, I trained Hombu Dojo every teacher. All of them every day. And I went around the world and I've been trained with them all, And I thought, well, okay, this is it. I come to Japan for the spiritual enlightenment, found out it didn't exist. So what was left with was this physical training. I said, well, I'm going to master that. And I felt, again, maybe incorrectly, that I had mastered that. Because I felt wherever I went, I could do myself. And I went to dojos. They told me don't come back. Well, dojos I went to, quite a few, said don't ever come back because you're too rough, And I said, okay. But I felt that I had reached there's no spirituality. Now I'd reached the physical peak of training, I'd felt. I'd mastered the physical, and that was it. And then with that, I guess I was around, I don't know, mid 2010, maybe, or 5, something like that. And then whenever I went to another dojo, I just, I would grab the teacher as hard as I could. And I didn't want to embarrass him in front of his students, but I said, nah, I grabbed him, and I could see in his eyes, he couldn't move. It's okay, but, wasn't there to be a, jerk, but, nah. And then when I meet the sensei, same thing, grabbed him, and suddenly I was on the floor. What just happened? I said, okay, and I grabbed him again really hard. He's a guy who weighs 40 kilos, like 90 pounds, It's nothing. And he had a really bad heart. He had like one of those pacemakers, He never left the area of the dojo because he couldn't climb the stairs to get to the train. He couldn't climb, like, if he could climb downstairs to get to the subway, but he didn't have the strength to climb up. Seriously, he couldn't. And if he walked, like, from here to the corner, he had to sit and rest. Unbelievable, right? So what is this guy, And he had a bicycle. He had to have one of those early electric bicycles, otherwise he couldn't get around. He had the pedal assist. That's how he would get around. But we once said, let's go here, go there. I can't walk up the stairs in the train. The JR can't go up the stairs. That's how weak he was, and yet he had this incredible power. I just never experienced such power.
How old were you when you met him?
I guess in my 50s, 60s, maybe 50. See, I met him about 20 years ago. Well, the funny thing is, he was a teacher at my dojo, at my own dojo. I never went to his class because everybody said, he's got a bad ticker, a bum ticker. He's no good, and nobody understands what he's saying. I said, okay, fine. So I never went to him. He had a sushi near the dojo. We used to go there to eat. Okay, and he is a real badass, actually, in his youth. And in fact, you would have loved Kuwamori Dojo Cho. Kuwamori, the one we're talking about, he was the Aikido guy, but the judo guy was just your kind of guy. Your kind of guy. He was arrested over 190 times for getting into fights. Okay? And he was on his way to, full time in prison, I would say, life in prison, okay? And he credited Ito Sensei with bringing him back from the edge, for pulling him back from being just an all-out thug. He just liked to fight. You see, this guy really liked to fight. He would just pick fights almost on a daily basis, picking fights. He's the brother of one we're talking about. There are 3 brothers. Kuwamori, there are 3 brothers. And the one was the one that did Aikido, and Takanori was the one who did judo. He was a judo champion. So yeah, you would have liked him. But Ito Sensei kind of brought him back from the edge and calmed him down. And so he was a teacher in my dojo, but I never went to his classes because everyone gave him, oh man, it's no good. Then someone convinced me to go to him, and I went to, okay, fine. But I just went there like, all right, fine. Another one, check, no good. And I went to check him off my list of all the phonies. Nope. Wasn't phony.
How long did you train with Ito Sensei?
Not that long. A few years. 3-4 years. Yeah, he died. But, I think, well, if I had trained with him for 20 years, how great I would have been. But I don't think that was it. I think I met him again at the right time in my life. I needed all that like they say, they hire a train breaks down, they hire some guy coming, he goes like, takes out his tool, goes ding, and walks away, and the train starts moving. So, okay, how much you want? $10,000. What are you talking $10,000? All I did was this. Yeah, but the 40 years before, that's what I made the money for, So yeah, it was like that.
He threw you down, right? And then you got up and went. What was your reaction?
Well, I often experience the same thing when I go to dojos. I grabbed him. He's an old weak man. It's like grabbing that tripod for your camera over there. It was nothing. He was like grabbing a skeleton inside of a jacket. It was like this is nothing. It was nothing. You've seen the videos, right? He's nothing. He's just like skin and bones. And I was afraid I'd break his arm if I held it too tight. And then he just fling me. And then I said, okay, I was being nice the first time, but now I'm going to really go for it. I grabbed him really hard, and he threw me even harder. And threw me, it was like I lost my balance and fell down. And then I really grabbed him, and he really threw me, and threw me again, he doesn't throw. It's just you kind of lose your balance and tip over kind of thing. And I said, I don't know what this is. I had to find out what this is. And he says to me, throw out all your strength. In order to become, if you throw away, does that make sense in English? Throw away your strength. If you throw away all your strength, you'll become stronger. I said, stop talking in parables. What am I supposed to do? I really felt this way. And eventually, like I told you, I didn't know what he was doing, but I understood what he told me not to do. So I just didn't do what he told me not to do. And that's how I learned this Aikido. Because I couldn't do what he was doing. I had no idea what he was doing. I couldn't copy it because I didn't know what he was doing. But he said, don't do this. I didn't do that. Don't throw. Throw away don't use strength. Don't use strength. And eventually I rebuilt my body. His whole thing was about karada o tsukuru, to create a Budo body. He had this Budo body, and even when he had gotten a stroke at the end, and he was hospitalized, and he was, natakiri, I guess a coma. He was in a coma, kind of coma, in a hospital. And I went to visit him, and I grabbed his hand, and he grabbed me back in a coma. I said, "What?" And I have a friend who's a neurologist. I told him about this. He said, "Oh, that's actually, sorry, nothing. Even babies have this reflex when they grab." And he also did this thing, if you give me your hand a second, this thing we did,
Yeah.
So just push back. So I pushed like this, and I felt, if I'll do it to you, right? You push me, push quickly. Again. I felt him push back. I couldn't pick his hand up. He's on the bed like this. And I said to my neurologist, and then, what about this? What now? Yes, I've never heard of that. So he created this body, and the whole thing was, if you read there, the thing I gave you, it's about making a Budo body, how to basically take your body apart and rebuild it. Okay, and that's what I learned from him. I intuited from him by not doing what he told me not to do. Now he had hundreds and hundreds of students. I don't know once again, how many of them got it? Chiba, all of them. Saito, Yamada, take your pick. How many, can you say, really, this is the descendant of that teacher? Right? Yeah. Even your teacher. Who is he? I've seen videos of your teachers, fantastic. His explanation to me, brilliant. Spot on. How come he hasn't 1,000 people just like him? Even 150 that got it. They trained hard, right? People trained hard. They just didn't get it. Because they didn't do what he told them not to do. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. How many Albert Einsteins are there? It's everything.
Thanks for watching this podcast. Stay tuned for Chapter 2 of an interview with Dunkelman Sensei.